Hey y'all, it's Sarah. You can see I have a bunch of goodies in front of me, and I kind of want to explain this random craft to you. Um, I have a kiddo who absolutely loves candy, and all kids love candy, but he is 16 and still loves candy. And he made a comment about having Christmas with sugar plums dancing in his head. So that's what I'm trying to create here is kind of that Candyland super sweet idea for them. In their little kid living room that we've got set up for them. So some of these are going to be ornaments for me. Some of these are just going to give it kind of that sweet appeal. Some of this may appeal to you. Some of it may not. Skip through whatever doesn't work for you. I was just going to go through and show you what I used, what I had on hand, and kind of how I threw together what I threw together. So let's get started. I want to show you with the candies first because that's kind of where I started playing was with my candies. You can kind of see I've got a bunch of little varieties here, and I'm sure you're probably already recognizing what this is. I just had some of the smaller size tumbling tower blocks like you get from Dollar Tree. I also had a set that was on clearance after Easter from Walmart. That was like 50 cents for the entire set. Some of those had colors that I actually could use for this, so I did use those that were already painted. Some of them I painted my own colors, and I was going to show you really quick. All I did for a lot of these is I just put some polka dots on there. You can see that these are sugared, if you will, and all that is just regular white or clear glitter. And I wanted to show you a quick cheat on doing the stripy ones without having to paint and do the crazy perfect stripes. So really quick, what I did was I'm just going to go ahead and take one of these that's already painted, and I came in with I had a little bit of length of this really small thin fine white ribbon, and this is really super simple. I came in with a little glue, and you can use whatever kind of glue you want to. I'm just using hot glue because it's convenient and it sticks fast, so I could move pretty quickly. And I just spun that around. Put as many stripes as you want to on there. And I tried to end up where there was a back side where my cuts were. You could do it to the side. This is really good for any of the Candyland style Christmas. I've seen a lot of cute candy type ornaments at places like Hobby Lobby. But if I already had things that I could do it with, I find that to be cheaper since I already had the things. So I'm using the things that I already had. So here's my little stripe, and as far as getting the wrappers, I just have the Dollar Tree roll of cellophane, just the clear, but they have colors too, so you could do this with colors if you wanted to. And I'm just going to trim just a small strip down is all I really needed. And you're going to get multiples out of this strip. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. So I've cut my strip down, and I gave myself some space on each side. Probably about at least a good inch, but mine's probably closer to 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches off of each side. That way it was easier for me to twist them. And those twists were a little more exaggerated, I guess you could say. So all I'm going to do now is on that back side, I'm going to pop a little more glue. Be careful because your cellophane will melt. And I'm just going to wrap this around. And I cut it a little wide, so I'm just going to trim that down really quick. And I just took and twisted the ends. Now, the one thing I wanted to show you to make this easier is if you want to hang this, and there's a lot of options to hang it. You can simply use the same ribbon that I just used to do this, or some cording or some string. Go ahead and put your little hanger on your piece, and I'll just use a little bit of my ribbon. When you go to place your piece inside, go ahead and attach it there, and you'll be able to twist it in right with your twist. I'm just going to go in and add all of mine later. I am likely to put little bows at the end of some of these. And there you go. You have a cute little candy piece. So, moving on really quick, same idea. Going with these little guys, or something like this, just using the same cellophane. I cut little squares to wrap. If you look, these are just the Dollar Tree colored beads. I didn't have enough of these larger size ones left in any colors that I wanted to use, but I wanted to show that as an example. Another really cheap option is, these are the Vase Fillers that you probably recognize. The Christmas style is out right now, where they have a lot of Christmas colors. They have this style in their party section, and I just went in and pulled out some of the fatter ones and wrapped those the same way in my little cellophane. All of these will get hung on a little mini tree, so I wanted to show those. Really quickly, what else on here? Oh, so the ribbon candies. I wanted to show those really quickly. Okay, so this is just regular kid kind of craft foam. Not felt, but the actual foam stuff. I cut mine down into different widths just to get different sizes. I feel like the inch was kind of my best size on width. So all I did was cut those down and gave myself, this is probably about an 8.5 inch strip that I cut from these. So here's some of my strips, and all I did was pick whatever color combination. I wanted to make sure that my width matched up. You could come in with a marker and put stripes down these if your color is light enough. These just happen to be the colors that I was going to play with. So I started with my ends, and I just popped those together so I could get my alignment, because your hot glue dries pretty quickly on this stuff. It can melt it, so watch your heat on that. And I just kind of smushed them together and begin to fold them. I didn't fold them tight, like I didn't crease it. And then I glued right where that fold is going to touch. I did not glue inside of there. That way it made that ribbony loop. So each place where it touches like that is where I popped my glue. And I just continue that all the way to the end. And you might not have an alignment that you like. You can trim it off so that you can get them a little more even at each end, or leave it how it is, either which way. So I'm going to go ahead and finish gluing this guy together. So I've got my little ribbon candy glued down, and I went ahead and glued a hanger to the top so you could see what I was talking about. And I've got my cellophane here to kind of wrap around this. And I'm going to decide that I want that to be my front. So I'm actually going to tack my cellophane down here, just barely using any glue. I've got my gun set on a lower temperature, by the way, right now. So all you'd have to do is twist that in. Your hanger is still intact here. And now you have a ribbon candy. I wanted to show, this one is kind of glittered, so I'm going to show you how to do that with this next one, which is, while we're using the craft foam, I've got these little lollipops. So those were the same thing. They were my craft foam, and I cut them at about 1/4 of an inch. These are actually a little wider. I'm hoping that it'll make it a little easier to show up for you. These are actually at about 1/2 an inch. So all I did was the same thing. If you've seen the big ones done with the, like the pool noodles, that's basically, we're just doing that on a small scale. And I'm going to grab my tweezers. I found that easier when I was doing this to begin with. I say that. Let me get a good grip here. And I'm just spinning those around. And there you go. You have kind of your little lollipop shape. In order to get my sticks in, I did this really, really simply. I use just the skewers. I came and I popped through right into that, all the way through. And I'm kind of twisting it in there just to get it as far in as it can go. I just took a pair of scissors, trimmed off that crazy little tongue. When you spin it around, there ends up being like a slight difference in the lengths as they come around. So don't throw this away. You can use this to make sprinkles. Once I got it on there, I determined the length that I wanted my stick. And I just cut that off. And now I have a little lollipop. If you feel like it's not secure enough, you can come in here with glue and hit that bottom. I've got it stuck in there pretty good. So all I did to kind of sugar these guys is I came in with a little glue. I'm using art glitter glue, but I think Elmer's or any of your wetter glues would work for this. And I just kind of spread it around on there. And I have a clear glitter in this. So it kind of has that sugary look. And there you go. I sprinkled it down, got it covered nicely, and popped my wrapper on. Simple as that. I know these seem kind of crazy, but I think these are so super cute. I've seen stuff like this in the stores. They are not cheap as far as, I'm really cheap when it comes to ornaments. So there's the lollipops. I want to jump into a couple other versions of lollipops or cake pops or whatever you want to kind of consider these. So you may already be able to tell what this is. Okay, so here's just the Dollar Tree little foam balls. You can see these come in a 6-pack, so that's 6 of these that you can knock out. I actually got a bunch of these from the mother of a friend who had passed away, and she was a real avid crafter. So I had a bunch of these on hand that I had no clue really what to use for something this size. So I ended up painting mine and just using the rest of the skewer that I cut off my lollipops there. I pop that in place. It's pretty tight on there. If you want to pop a little glue under there, I could certainly understand feeling like you want to secure that on there a little bit. I felt like once I got my little wrapper on there that it was pretty good. So just to keep the length, I'm going to come in, trim this down. I painted these with just a sponge, just a Dollar Tree sponge to get that on there. And I kind of got a nice mottled look. If you can see the different color tones in there, which really kind of gave it that cake appearance to me. So I just popped those on there. You can see that I went plain. I added a little extra, and to do this one, I'm going to show you really simply. All I did was come in with my glue again and just kind of drizzle a little on there. So I just kind of blended down and brushed that down and sprinkled on a little bit of this Dollar Tree Faux Snow. I really don't want to open this package right now. You can see, oh, I lied to you about my ball. I guess it wasn't as secure as I thought. So I'm just going to pop a little glue there. I don't have the cellophane on it, and I think that really helped keep it on my other ones. So there's a little bit of fallout here of that fake snow already just from that package. I'm just kind of dipping in that. There's a little more. And you can kind of see it gave like a sugared effect. There is another route you can go. You can use anything like puffy paint. Dollar Tree carries different puff paints now. Drizzle that over the top. I actually also used a little bit of the Dollar Tree spackling and drizzled that over the top, mixed with some red paint to make a pink color. So I have a couple of those. I just want to throw out the ideas. This one the same way. You just wrap it up in your cellophane. And I'm going to show you really quick. I went from this direction to kind of measure out my cellophane so that I would have like the little wrapper at the top and at the bottom. If you just wanted it where it does the circle part, you want to come around this way. So either which way is cute to me. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim this one down to that. And we'll leave it at that, since that's how I'm holding it. A little bow on that would be really cute. I'm just going to go ahead and twist this in place. I used my heat gun a little bit with this to kind of hold my plastic in place once they were all twisted together. So there's an idea if you're having a problem and you have a heat gun. That helped me hold my little cellophane in place. Or a lighter, something like that. You could melt it down a little bit so it holds in place. Next one. Oh, I want to get into staying on the candies before I go a whole lot further. So these little candies are simply soda caps, bottle caps. This one was already red, but it had print over the top. I came in with some Waverly Crimson and covered the writing. So I didn't have to do much to it. All I did was come in with this snow mess and glue a little of that to the top. So that I felt like I was recycling. I think those will hang cute on a mini tree. And you'll see a couple more bottle cap ideas here in a minute, and you might already recognize them. One more thing. I don't know if any of you guys saved these. These were the stems off of the Dollar Tree foam pumpkins. I kind of already knew that this is what I wanted to do with those, so I've been saving mine. If you happen to have been the same way, you can kind of see now I have some little foam gumdrops. And all I did for these, and I don't have any more left, I got excited and I did all of them at once, was painted the ones that I wanted a different color. I went in, I added a little bit of glue and covered them with just my clear, sugary looking glitter. And I think that was a Walmart glitter, guys. I don't keep any of my packaging for my glitters because I store it all like this. So just know that it's like a clear glitter. You could also do this with something like Epsom salt to sugar them up, or you could use the Dollar Tree Snow, but I chose not to use the Snow because it does have a little bit of iridescence in it, and so I went with the clear to get a little more sugary look. So staying with kind of the bottle cap idea, I wanted to show you these, my little kind of chocolates here. All I did for those, same premise, I used the bottle caps and I painted them this perfect brown chocolatey color, which is the Waverly Truffle. It's a very chocolatey looking brown. So I went ahead and painted my bottle caps in this color. I came back in with a little bit of the Dollar Tree spackling and some of the same truffle, and I got a nice rich chocolatey brown. And it was almost in a frosting-like consistency. And that's what I went across the tops with. Added a little bit of dimension to those. And then I just came in with some of my puffy paint. And I also used, scrapbookers, you may recognize this. I use something called Nuvo Drops, which is very similar, but it's got a little more transparency. If you notice with the colors, it's a little more transparent when it goes on. So I use both products just so you kind of know for comparison. So a few more ideas I wanted to throw. This was kind of my go-to color for all of my chocolate look. Same thing with this. This is a real size Jenga block. Just a normal one that came out of a game that was missing pieces. I went in, did the very same thing. I painted it with my truffle color. I came in with my mix that was still at a frosting-like consistency. I don't have any more brown mixed up because I used all of it. I do have a pink version mixed up, which is just my paint and whatever paint color, just like doing real frosting and adding your food coloring. Just know that whatever color you add is going to go lighter because this product is white. So I've been working with pink right now. And I just kind of slathered it on there and gave it some texture and dimension and more puffy paint. Another kind of idea, because I was recycling a lot of things with the bottle caps. These were things that I had on hand to get the idea that I wanted to play with. These are the things that I had on hand, but I wanted to get your imagination active. Because there were some other things that I used that may be different for you, but I wanted to get you thinking. So this is a foam packing product, something. It came out of like a small electronics package, and it was just a little perfectly square piece of foam. Same thing when I had my little frosting. I went in, did a nice coat over it, gave it time to dry, and then went in with more puffy paint. So these are all things that normally would have gotten tossed. So I used that sponge, and I wanted to show you a couple other ideas of things that you can use to get those shapes. So this is more packing material. You can see this has got like a really foamy texture. It's that rubbery kind of foam. This is also a good way to go. You can paint this with chalk paint because chalk paint will stick to just about anything. Some of your Dollar Tree floral foam, which is what this one is. You can see. Staying with ideas of recycling products or things to that nature. So I wear these things out. These are the Dollar Tree sanding sponge, and you can see this one's had a rough go of it. So this one is also another item that you can go in. Chalk paint is going to stick to just about any of these things that I'm showing you. Go in, paint it whatever color that you want it to be. the really cool thing is that I usually have several of these that are just worn out and starting to come apart. You can stack them and make layers. So I wanted to show that as recycling. And you guys know me. I have sponges. I have lots of sponges. A lot of times I can get them clean and use them multiple times. Sometimes, depending on the type of paint that I'm using, I still end up with sponges that go bad. They wear out. That's what these are. Can you recognize that? So all I've done is cut down one of my real sponges that when I get done painting with and it's worn out, I have cut them down. On these particular pieces, I cut straight down this part. And I'm going to show you really quickly how easy that is. You see that, you guys? So the ones that I use for this literally are the ones that were just completely grungy with my antique color. So they were already pretty much this color and had hardened. I just filled in some of the spaces and cut in. Oh no, those are my fabric scissors. What was I thinking? I come and I cut in right across here to get that kind of wavy part. You could probably work that into a design if you wanted to. See, this one had paint that hardened around those edges and it was no longer painting very smoothly. And then I had like a little square that I could work with. So that one, the green ended up on the bottom. The other ones, I did end up going in and doing where my icing, my frosting went across this green part on the top. But all I did, same thing with my spackling glaze. And I'm going to show you this really quick. I'm going to try it with this one just to see how this yellow sponge kind of looks. So I've got my little mix here. And I've got this little tool from Dollar Tree. It's in the Crafter Square section. And I found it works really well for mixing your paint in. This is just Waverly Crimson mixed in with this product. And it gave me this kind of strawberry milk looking pink. So I just came in, and if you guys are cake makers and you already have that skill, this is pretty easy to do. I do not have that skill personally, but my little brown pieces were already in that condition. I just found a way to turn that condition into something. So I just kind of slathered it in however you want to, if you can get fancy with it. And Dollar Tree has some of the frosting kits. I didn't end up using it. I just kind of slathered it on that way and left it out to dry. And honestly, I was worried about it being on the sponges and that being absorbent. But it dried really in a couple hours. But you have something like this that Dollar Tree has that you could get fancy smancy with what you're doing. I didn't need to get fancy smancy. I was recycling these pieces. So this is where I went with it, but you can use your imagination. And even right just like that, that's not bad. I could go in with some paint and kind of tint my foam there and get a little more natural, maybe yellow buttery color, but you can kind of see that's where I went with that. And I'm going to put this to the side so it can dry. And I wanted to show you some other ideas to play with. And I think this would be a fun craft with kids because you get to get a little messy. And a can of this at Dollar Tree is $1. The other thing that I had anyway was some of their all-purpose caulk. So these two things are fun. You can get a lot of ornament ideas or just playful ideas with just these two on making your little sweets and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and show how I did kind of the center details. And I'm going to just kind of take this piece here. And I'm using my Nuvo drops just because I could squeeze it out easier. This one actually came out of the bottle a little easier than Puffy Paint does. So you can kind of see where there were ridges where I didn't cut with that sponge completely even. I'm just going to use that. I'm being crooked. It's not a straight line. You can see where it kind of meets the other side. And now I have layers. A couple other things just to throw in some details. Things, like I said, that I had on hand that I could play with. Let me grab these. So, I always like to grab these things because I use them, you see, I use them as trays a lot. But I normally peel all the little embellishments off anyway. And I tend to save those as a scrapbooker anyway. So I have little things like this. These are made out of foam, so they really kind of have that frosting, icing look. And I wanted to show you really quick with this one that's dry. You can hear it's dry, it's hard. I'm going to come in with just this caulk. And you could do this in those little tips that I showed you, but I'm not getting fancy smancy. That's why I said you could do this with kids. It would be fun. So, obviously, I'm not a cake decorator. Don't judge. So, I just put a little bit of that on there. And I'm going to take these foam flowers before this dries. And I'm just going to kind of stick those in there. If you notice, I've got kind of a color theme going on here. Because I thought that when Christmas was over, some of these pieces I could pull the green out and be able to use on a tier tray for Valentine's, which I think would be fun and cute too. And you can see, it's pretty simple, but if you have these things like I do, and you've taken them apart, it's a really good use for something I'm not sure otherwise that I would use. On any other kind of craft, but something overly cutesy like this, I think it was a good way to get rid of those. And I think that's all I wanted to show you in this one. I may do another one of these because I'm still going to continue to finish this. I really am trying to make this Candyland, Wonderland area out of my kids' den. I think it's just a sweet thing to do, literally. So, this is how some of my sponges end up, and you can see that that thing is hardened. This was a perfect example of something, if you've got your sponges, instead of throwing them out, turn it into a fun little, whoops. Let's get you back in place. This one was from painting the cake balls. So, there you go. Now I have a fun little slice of strawberry cake, I guess. So I even recycled sponges from this actual craft. So now you kind of have an idea to just run with these. I know this was something that was super kind of cheesy as a craft. It's very cutesy, and that was kind of my whole purpose. I really wanted cutesy for this memory this year. One other thing, since it is 2020 and there are so many jokes about toilet paper, don't forget you can turn these into ornaments. And this one is so embarrassingly easy. I'm almost too shameful to show it, but I'm going to show it anyway. This is my celebration of 2020 since everybody has toilet paper roll jokes, and I am trying to get this thing open with a struggle, seriously. So I just have some sparkly red ribbon, and I'm using this because I felt like it would lay really flat, and I like anything that sparkles. I'm going to use the line that's in the toilet paper to kind of help me. I'm not putting an end on these. I don't know that anybody's going to be looking at these that hard. once I do my cellophane on it, it's going to cover most of that. So starting with that kind of line, I'm just going to twist around, make a little peppermint candy. So I have my cellophane to wrap mine in. I'm just going to do like I've done with everything else. Kind of pop it in place. Nothing fancy here. This does not have to be. I did not want to start over with a whole new Christmas. So now I've got my little candy here. This one I'm actually going to add a bow to. I've got just some Dollar Tree red gingham check ribbon. I'm going to come in and just make a quick little bow. I could have tied it around my cellophane, but I was afraid that I personally would crush my toilet paper roll. So I'm just going to glue mine on. Just grab my scissors, cut my tails. So everyone's had their kind of ode to 2020 as far as ornaments go. This one is mine. And super simple, nothing major to that, but hanging on a tree, this makes a nice, lightweight, easy filler ornament, especially if you're trying to get that whole Candyland vibe. And that's it, guys. I have several more that I kind of want to throw out that I'm playing with. If you're interested, check those out. I think most of these are pretty fun. I hope my kids enjoy it and it gives them that dancing sugar plums in their head feel for this holiday. And I hope you guys get that feel for this holiday. I will talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.